think every family probably has their favorite version of mashed sweet potato casserole. Some people like them twice baked and stuffed, or they go fancy and they add a bunch of layers, but either way, I think the simplest way is sometimes the best. Join me in the kitchen today as we make my version of mashed sweet potato casserole. I'm Rachel Ballard, this is Feast and Farm Cooks. Let's get started. So just like all your other favorite holiday recipes, mashed sweet potato casserole is one that I think everybody has a version of. My mom loves them twice baked and topped with marshmallows, but I'm just taking the simple route today, and we're just gonna mash these things and put a lovely little crunchy, nutty topping on there and bake it up, because if you ask me, it all ends up going to the same place anyway and all tastes the same in the end. So we're not gonna fool with all the frills, but we are gonna make something delicious. So let me show you what we're gonna do here. Now I kind of got started on these, but these are sweet potatoes that I mashed already a little bit. Put in the oven and baked and in their skins, just whole, on a cookie sheet for about 30 minutes until you could pierce them with a fork and have it come out completely soft and clean. So I went ahead and did that, and I actually did that a couple of days ago and just put those sweet potatoes in the refrigerator. So this is one of those make ahead things where if you don't have time and you need to get something done, make these ahead, put them in the fridge. They will be fine until you need them. So I took them out, peeled them, and started mashing on them. They're not all the way done yet, but that's okay. So let me show you what else you're gonna need to get this done. So we've got about 3 cups of sweet potatoes back here. I've got a little bit of milk. You could also use half and half or heavy cream. That's always delicious and wonderful. A little bit of butter. And then for a topping that we're gonna put on, I have white sugar, brown sugar, and cinnamon back here, and a little bit of butter and some walnuts and a little bit of salt. That's all we're gonna need. We're actually not gonna put a lot of sugar into the sweet potatoes. I feel like we constantly as Americans are over sweetening our food. We really don't need this much sugar, guys. So we're gonna keep it very low key in the sweet potatoes and keep the sugar in the topping, and that way you can kind of balance it out and it's not overly sweet. So into these sweet potatoes, I'm just gonna add the milk. Just kind of thins things out a little bit. If you use cream, just to kind of thin things down, makes it a little bit easier to blend. And I'm gonna pour in this butter because everything's better with a little butter. And then a pinch of salt. We just wanna balance the flavors here. It's not like we're not gonna make it salty. We just wanna keep the flavors even. So I'm gonna blend this up. And once it's totally smooth, if you want to leave a few chunks in yours, that's fine. I'm just going to get this nice and smooth the way that we like it. And it'll be ready for the dish. Okay, that's it. And I'll spare you my beating of the mixers on the table. Okay, so I'm going to transfer. Let me move things around so you can see. I am going to transfer these sweet potatoes into this dish, and then we will make the topping. So let me get this smoothed out and I'll be right back and I'll show you how to make the topping. Okay, so our sweet potatoes are in a nice even layer here, and I'm doing this in this is like a, I don't know, like a 7 by 13 or something. It's a little bit of a smaller dish, and 8 by 8 is usually the best dish to use for this recipe. So I'm gonna set those aside, and then in the same bowl, there's no sense in making extra bowls if you don't need to. We're just gonna pour in our sugars and our cinnamon, and we're gonna get sweet potatoes all over our fingers, because if you don't, that's just not right. We're gonna use some cold butter. So I've got about 3 tablespoons of cold butter, and we're just gonna use good old elbow grease here. And we're just gonna break. Swanee, if I could just get this off my hands for 30 seconds, I'd be doing good. I don't know how people do this. They make it look so smooth. I'm just over here making messes. All right, so I'm just gonna break this butter up into the sugars. If you wanted to use certainly like a raw sugar, or you could even swap in just a little bit of honey for the white sugar, it's going to give you a different texture in the end, but if you want to do that, it would be fine. So I'm going to break in this butter just a little bit until it's kind of the size of small peas or so. It'll take me just a couple of minutes here. It's good hand exercise too. Builds up those muscles. And then we're just basically making like a streusel topping for the top of this. It's gonna bake up and become really crispy and kind of caramelized. And like I said, it's just enough sugar that you have the sweetness, but it's not just cloyingly sweet. And the other thing I'm gonna add, now that my hands are dirty, makes it much more simple, is just a little bit of salt to this. And you say, why? Well, salt just balances the sweetness, and it, again, keeps everything from being overwhelming. Okay, Good enough there. Now, I'm just going to toss in, this is about 1/4 cup of walnuts. If you don't like walnuts, you can certainly leave them out. You could swap in another nut. You could add pecans. You could even do sliced toasted almonds if you wanted to. That would be okay. All right. So all we're going to do is sprinkle this on the top. And then this is going in a 350-degree oven until it's warmed all the way through and the topping is nice and crispy and golden. That might be, 25 to 30 minutes, somewhere in that range, and it will be all done. And one of the glories of this recipe, if you're going to be making it for the holidays, is that it can sit out at room temperature. So your oven's not just completely overwhelmed with a bunch of recipes and you don't have anywhere to do anything. Make this one ahead, set it on the counter, and it will be fine. If you need to warm it a little bit before you serve it, do that, but it would be delicious at room temperature as well. So into the oven we go. I'll show you what it looks like when we get back. Okay guys, our sweet potatoes are out of the oven and that sugar just kind of caramelized on the top and made it nice and crunchy. It's gonna be so good. I'm gonna get a little corner over here. The mashed potatoes, of course, or the sweet potatoes are so soft. You can leave a few lumps in there if you want to for texture, but then the walnuts are gonna give it some crunch on the top. So I've got a little bitty bit. I'm gonna stuff it in my mouth. Don't forget to subscribe to Feast and Farm Cooks. I love having you here with me. You're not gonna wanna miss a single video coming up, especially during the holidays when we're making all your favorite comfort food. You can subscribe right here, or you can watch my most recent video right there. Thanks for being with me. I'll see you again soon. Bye.